here we are on a huge Supreme Court victory for Donald Trump. At least it's an order that says things can stay as they are for now. You see, remember those Venezuelans that were part of a gang, TDA, and they said, we're going to get rid of all these guys and we're going to put them in an El Salvador prison? Well, there was a judge that said, I don't think you can. I don't think you can do this. They were using something called the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to get rid of Tren de Agua, which the administration is calling a terrorist organization. So they want to get rid of the terrorist organization. They say we're effectively at war with Venezuela. We've sanctioned Venezuela, of course, and that they are sending these guys from TDA into our country. And so in order to get rid of them, we got to take this into account, 1798. They're like grasping at straws because, look, it's been difficult. Hey, we had an open border, come one, come all for so long, and now they got to kind of turn this thing on its head. And they're saying, how do we get the authorization? I mean, it should be sort of basic. You're here illegally, we can deport you. But in this case, they're taking it a step further, and they're saying, you know what? Not only can we deport you, we can deport you to another place, like a really bad country. So, hey, guess what? You maybe don't want to come here in the first place. Well, Judge Boasberg, he came forward and said, no, I don't think you can do this. I don't think that that's possible. He tried to get the plane to turn around midair. And then he asked a whole series of questions, right? He's like, why were you taking them there? What time did you take off? Why didn't you turn around? You didn't have the authorization to do this. So he asked all these questions, and you had the administration basically giving him the middle finger. Pam Bondi's like, yeah, whatever. He put one deadline in place and said, I want my questions answered. And then he put another deadline in place, and she kind of sort of placated him on some things. But basically, she's like, buddy, you don't have the authority. You don't have the authorization to be able to do this. And the Supreme Court agrees with her. Here she is, just hours before he was putting new demands on her. She's like, yeah, go fly a kite.
Let's start, if we might, from the decision by Judge Boasberg. Tomorrow is your deadline to answer questions. Those questions include the following. What time did the plane take off from U.S. soil? Where did it leave from? What time did it leave U.S. airspace? And what time did it land in a foreign country? You have, 4, 5, 6 questions the judge wants answers to regarding the details of those flights over the weekend. How will you respond at the Department of Justice?
Well, our lawyers are working on this. We will answer appropriately, but what I will tell you is this judge has no right to ask those questions. You have one unelected federal judge trying to control foreign policies, trying to control the Alien Enemies Act, which they have no business presiding over. And there are 261 reasons why Americans are safer now. That's because those people are out of this country. The judge had no business, no power to do what he did. And he came in on an emergency basis on a Saturday with very, very short notice, if any, to our attorney to run in the courtroom. And this has been a pattern with these liberal judges. You just spoke about that. It's been a pattern with what they've been doing. This judge had no right to do that. They're meddling in foreign affairs. They're meddling in our government. And the question should be, why is a judge trying to protect terrorists who have invaded our country over American citizens? TDA is a terrorist organization. They are organized. They have a government structure within them. They are sending money not only throughout this country to each other, but back to Venezuela. They are a terrorist organization, and we are not going to have that in our country.
Effectively, the Supreme Court is agreeing with her, or at least I should say agreeing that they can deport more and more Venezuelans for now. So the majority of justices concluded that the Venezuelan migrants who had brought their cases, they did so in the wrong court, but that they were entitled to an opportunity to challenge their removal. However, the Supreme Court ruled on Monday night, this is last night, that the Trump administration could continue to deport them, continue deporting Venezuelan migrants using that Wartime Powers Act for now. This overturns a lower court that had put a temporary stop to the deportations. Now, this decision is certainly being hailed as a big victory for the Trump administration. You had Stephen Miller recently saying, how is it that you can have these lower courts, one single judge out there, suddenly deciding the entire policy of the country? And it begs an important question. I'll let him say it.
You cannot have a democracy where single individual district court judges can assume the full total powers of the commander-in-chief. Even on the Supreme Court, it takes agreement of 5 Supreme Court justices to change a federal policy. 5. A single district court judge out of 700 cannot set policy for the entire nation, let alone on national security and public safety issues. The president has been clear that he has tremendous respect for Justice Roberts and believes it's essential the Supreme Court crack down and stop this assault on our democracy from these radical rogue judges that are usurping the powers of the presidency and laying waste to our entire constitutional system.
Now, one of the interesting things here is that they are saying if you're going to deport them, they need to be told in advance. So that's something that they did agree on, that you have people now from Venezuela that have been confined to Texas, and they're saying you've got to basically give them some notice that they're about to be deported. So, okay, fair enough, right? But the point is, you're here illegally, you're believed to be part of a gang, and we're going to suddenly have all these judges here, there, and everywhere saying, no, you can't deport them? I'm sorry. I think you can deport them just from the fact that they're here illegally, and then you throw in the gang stuff, and it's like, guys, I mean, what do you want? I mean, but this is big in that you basically had the Trump administration saying F you to the judges, saying F you to the system. We know that we're in the right here. We will take it all the way to the Supreme Court. We will win, which is exactly what they have done. And you have some people, like even this one guy over on CNN just a couple of weeks ago saying, he was kind of impressed. He would have loved when he was at DOJ to be able to tell some of these district judges to take a hike.
Insiders to start us off. Ellie, when you look back at Judge Boasberg's rulings, some people have also mentioned he's also a pretty close friend of, you may know him, Brett Kavanaugh, Trump's Supreme Court justice that he picked. They were roommates. They still go on trips together. Obviously, that doesn't dictate how he's going to rule, but it does speak to, the nature of what Jeff Zeleny was getting at, is how do you determine who's a judge you don't like? Is it just because they rule against you?
Well, that seems to be the rule with the Trump administration, but let's remember, this judge has been, if anything, remarkably patient and solicitous with Trump's DOJ. I mean, I've been watching what DOJ has been doing, the way they've been responding to this judge over the last 3 days, with awe and astonishment. I mean, this is now the 3rd consecutive day the judge has said, I want specific details from you, Justice Department. And they have responded by saying, we'll give you a little bit, but no, you don't need the rest of that. We're not.
No, he's right. I mean, but that's why I think they were so confident in their position. I want to share with you what President Trump is saying right now. Quote, the Supreme Court has upheld the rule of law in our nation by allowing a president, whoever that may be able to secure our borders and protect our families and our country itself. A great day for justice in America. Listen, guys, this is not that hard. The one power the federal government absolutely positively has, and this should not be disputed in any way, shape, or form, is to control its borders. And I realize there were a lot of reasons, for whatever reason. Well, I think we know the reason. It had a little something to do with, well, can we call it gerrymandering? A new way of gerrymandering, right? Let's bring in 800,000 people into the state of New York that are here illegally and suddenly give them the opportunity to vote in elections. Ooh, that'll turn out well. Well, that's what they were trying to do, okay? Kid you not, that was the intention. So the one thing that the federal government has absolute power to do is to control its borders. And if that means we have to go back to 1798 and find a reason to do so, so be it. We're going to do so. And now the Supreme Court agreeing that, yes, absolutely, you have the power to control your borders. That is one of the federal powers bestowed onto you. Reminder to subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. I'll tell you who does not like this. Well, one Jasmine Crockett. You get all the Democrats out making a lot of noise, but this lady is very, how do I say, special, okay? Like this one, she's in a category all onto herself. They're actually talking about her possibly running for president in 2028. I mean, I say bring it on, but you know what? You got to be careful what you wish for. Anyway, Jasmine Crockett is like, we need more and more and more and more migrants here because wait till you hear her justification. Because what? Because she's not going to pick the continent. Literally, she said it. She said it. Talking about inhumane, lousy, nasty thing to say. She thinks all the poor people got to come here to do her bidding. I'm sorry, Jasmine Crockett.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I mean, do you think that was funny? Or is that really how she feels? It may be how she feels. In other words, we need migrants to do all these meaningless jobs that nobody else wants to do. I mean, not a very nice way to phrase it there, Ms. Crockett, Representative Crockett. But, she's not exactly the most eloquent, nor does she have the nicest eyelashes. Anyway, I mean, can you imagine saying something like that? But she did, and that's her sort of interpretation of why we need migrant labor. The only problem with that is you can't just keep shuttling people into the country and have no idea, no clue who's here. I mean, why can't you come up with a better system? Why can't we expect more from our government so that we come up with a better system and we have people that are here and maybe can do some of those jobs? I'm not saying everybody's going to have a PhD in computer engineering. I mean, it'd be nice, but we need people to do a diverse, amount of work, and we can do that, but we can do that in a legal way, can we not? Can we not have a system that actually, I mean, I look at the Democrats right now, and it's bizarre because you can just go back in time, actually, to Obama, believe it or not, who was deporting people left and right, and none of them believed in this until now. Until now, it's kind of this let them eat cake, Jasmine Crockett approach. We're not going to do it, so we need them to. Okay, fine, but let them be here legally. Don't they have a better shot? Don't we all have a better shot if we know who's in this country? As opposed to shuttling people, unless, of course, it is about something else entirely, which I do think it might actually be. Right? I mean, how else can you justify bringing in all these people illegally unless, of course, you want non-citizen voting? They did it in Berkeley, California. They were trying to do it in New York. This thing just got shut down a couple of weeks ago. The New York State top court said, no, you guys cannot have 800,000 people who are not here legally actually voting. So this is part of what it was about. Well, that's ended. It's totally ended. Jasmine, I'm sorry. You know what? Either you're going to get Americans to do it or you're going to find a system that allows for people to come in, be here in a recorded way that everybody knows about, where, it's all on the up and up and we know who's here. Or you're not going to, I guess wages are going to have to go way up. Let's take a look at this. Take a look at this. This is the sort of a number of border crossings that have taken place over the last however many years. You can go all the way back to see. This one goes back to 2000. And so as I look at this, under Joe Biden, Axios did this chart. You had monthly crossings at nearly 250,000. I mean, it's incredible. And then look at the plummet. Donald Trump comes into the office and is like, woo, we go right down 96%. Isn't that amazing? Well, I suspect that some of the rhetoric coming out of the administration, including things like, hey, we got a 1798 Deportation Act that we can put in place anytime we want, is probably a deterrent of sorts, I think, right? Maybe just a little bit. Oh, we've been watching this market today, and we're going to get to all these tariffs, and we're going to talk about all this good stuff. But, one of the bright spots was actually gold. Amid all this concern and all this fear, people went into gold. We're an independent show here. We don't have to have any advertising. Well, we do have advertisers, but you know what I mean, like the big guys, like they have on the networks, and we don't have any management structure getting in the way of what I want to say. So it's just you and me, and I let it all hang out there every single day. So we appreciate our advertisers here on the show, our little show advertisers, people like American Heart for Gold, a good group of people over there that can definitely help you if you're interested in investing in gold. It's one of those things I do talk about all the time, in good times and in bad. It was down a little bit yesterday. yesterday. I bought some today. It was actually back up. Goldman Sachs thinking it's going to go to 3,300 this year. We'll see how this all shakes out. Again, part of, if you see the dollar start to lose some momentum, one would anticipate that gold prices would go up. Of course, you get the uncertainty factor, which helps gold prices go up, and you have central banks all around the world that are like, oh my gosh, what's going on in the US? I think I'm going to go into gold. So all of these things help. If you're interested in gold, go over there to trishlovesgold.com. You can get up to $15,000 in free silver. You can text Trish, my name, to 65532, or you can call them at 1-844-495-1115 today.